Next, from James Madison FFA, right here in San Antonio, Ms. Caitlin Fromm.
Thomas Edison once said, "The reason a lot of people do not recognize opportunity is because it usually goes around wearing overalls looking like hard work." Hi, I'm Katie Frank from the James Madison FFA chapter right here in San Antonio, Texas, and I consider myself to be an opportunist. Thomas Edison's work really impacted me because I found my commercial steer project to be both a great learning opportunity and hard work. Thomas Edison could not have invented the light bulb without hard work, and anyone who has ever raised livestock knows that raising animals involves a lot of hard work. I chose to do the commercial steer project, not only because I got to raise animals, but because of the financial aspect of the project. I am going to become a veterinarian, so this project seemed like the perfect way for me to learn more about the bovine species, as well as learning a little bit about finance. With the help of my ag teacher, I have selected 2 Angus Simmental steers that you see right behind me. They weighed 560 and 590 pounds when I first purchased them. My average cost of gain was 80 cents per pound, and my average daily gain was 5.62 pounds per day per head. They currently weigh 1,232 and 1,240 pounds. I researched many economical feed options, and since weaning them off of pasture, I have been feeding them a mixture of cracked corn, cotton seed hulls, liquid molasses, dried distiller's grain, and rumensin. I was able to put my veterinary skills to work when we vaccinated, dewormed, and implanted the steers earlier this year. We vaccinated them with an 8-way blackleg and a 5-way bovine rhinotracheitis vaccine. They were dewormed with the Cydectin Coron dewormer and implanted with the Elanco ES component implant, which contains 200 milligrams progesterone, 20 milligrams estradiol benzoate, and 29 milligrams tylosin tartrate. The tylosin tartrate is added to prevent infection from the implantation site. I was able to put my veterinary skills to work, and I performed many fecal flotations on my steers just to ensure that they did not have any endoparasites. I performed a fecal analysis on other steers in my chapter barn, and I found Trichuris discolor, which is the scientific name for whipworms. Whipworms are a parasite that live inside the large intestine of cattle. I have a special interest in parasitology. I prefer the centrifugation method over direct floats and the various other methods because the gravitational force from the centrifuge forces more oocytes, which are eggs, to the top of the test tube. This provides for a higher egg count and a more accurate diagnosis. After diagnosing that specific steer with whipworms, I calculated the correct dose of valvazin for him. In some of our other livestock at my school, I have actually found multiple different parasites on one animal. Although we were able to diagnose that steer successfully, I also performed many other fecal flotations on my steers just to ensure that they did not pick up the whipworms, since the whipworms could have lived inside the dirt of our barn. Next to taking care of the steers, my favorite part of this project was studying the beef science study material in the study guide. No, I'm serious, I really like to study. For the past few years, I have been competing in the FFA Veterinary Science Career Development Event Contest. With that, I basically live to study, because learning all of that material sure takes a lot of hard work. My team and I won the Texas State Contest, and we traveled to Louisville, Kentucky this past October for the national contest. The contest was super extensive, and one of the sections of the contest was writing 2 essays. One of the prompts asked why biosecurity is so important in cow-calf operations. I elaborated and explained why cattle should be quarantined when they are first acquired. I went in depth about internal and external parasite diagnosis, treatment, and possible contagion. I also went in depth again about fecal flotation because some ranchers believe that just simply deworming the cattle will do the trick. But in reality, some cattle could have a parasite that the chosen dewormer does not protect against. Finally, I took a lot of other knowledge I gained early on in that project and applied it during the contest. My team and I won first place at the National Veterinary Science Contest. Neither the National Veterinary Science title or the Commercial Steer Project would not have been possible for me if I did not take advantage of the opportunities laid out right in front of me, because I have learned that hard work does pay off. With that in mind, whether I finish first or last today, my hard work and efforts will have paid off because of the tremendous amount of knowledge and experience I have gained throughout this unique project. Thank you.
Very good. I'm sorry for mispronouncing your last name, Katie. And second, I was going to ask you about the difference between our digestive tract and your steer's digestive tract, but having won the national, whatever you said in veterinary medicine, I think I'll save that question for someone else. But you did talk about bioterrorism. You know, this morning, we're almost at the end of the first table, and I bet a full 60% of the kids that have talked so far have said the word dark cutter. That's the first time that's ever happened. In 16 years, it's the first time that's ever happened. But several years ago, we heard the term bioterrorism equally as much, if not more. And you said the term bioterrorism in your speech. There was a whole lot of worry and a whole lot of scare about bioterrorism a few years ago. I want you to give me a specific example of why you are concerned about biosecurity and bioterrorism. What should we be afraid of, and how do we prevent it from happening?
Biosecurity is so important in the cattle industry because, for example, if you acquire new cattle, like I had mentioned, you should always quarantine them because those cattle could be carrying a disease, and if you turn out those cattle with the rest of your herd, they could infect the whole herd. Like, say for example, one of those steers had the blackleg bacteria, he could transfer that to the entire herd and kill your whole herd.
Caitlin, thank you. Your speech was magnificent, very knowledgeable and detailed, and I was going to ask, you know, how you should properly implant a steer, but I think I'll ask something a little more than that since your speech went into so much depth. So you're participating in the San Antonio Livestock Show and Rodeo market steer, commercial steer contest, and you just told us how you implanted and the type of compounds and chemicals that were contained in those implants. And all the people in the back of the room are consumers here from all across San Antonio. Tell us how you can assure them that their children are not going to be affected negatively and that your beef from your steers are safe after you use these implants on them to change them. How can you assure those mothers and fathers that it's safe for their children to eat that meat?
There's been various studies performed about the effects of the estradiol and estrogen and progesterone that is injected into the meat, and when the meat is produced, you might ingest a little bit of the estradiol and progesterone, but the studies have found that that is not going to hurt you, and that the amounts that you could possibly be ingesting is so slight that it's not going to do any harm for men, women, or children.
Thank you very much.